there are a few things that you can learn from this episode of the podcast as we begin it. Number one, maybe don't do a reverse jinx. Like I did for all the people listening on audio. I'm wearing the gear of my team, the team that I represented, and hopeful that they would pull off a massive upset. And number two, do not conform to things and people are forcing you to conform to. And that was wearing said gear that you are trying to jinx the opposition to. If you get what I mean, well, last week when my San Francisco 49ers faced the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round of the playoffs, I wore the Kelly Green Kelly Green shirt, an Adidas Kelly Green shirt of the Eagles, and the 49ers won. But someone in my family forced me to conform and wear my Niners gear when they faced the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional playoffs. But you know me, I thought I would put the Dylan jinx and try to hope and pray that an upset was gonna brew in Lumen Field, but no, that did not happen. But no, not only did that not happen, it was even uglier than what I hoped. At least, what if it didn't, an upset didn't happen, then yeah, or at least something even like a little bit more respectful. But yeah, that's two lessons. There's two lessons that I hope you took away from as we start off this podcast. So, hello, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. After this that lengthy cold open, I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, and this is episode number 325 of this icy yet spicy podcast, bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports for you sports fans out there like you and me. And in this episode, obviously, we are talking about my San Francisco 49ers coming off the heels of, what do you even say about this game against the Seattle Seahawks in the 2025 NFC Divisional Playoff game. Yes, game in air quotes that happened over the weekend, just not even long ago. And like, what even is there to say about this game? Like, what even is left to say about this game that it just happened and in the way that it did happen? So, yeah, the Niners were obviously going into this game like big time underdogs. And like I said at the top of the very few minutes of this episode, I was hoping for at least a miracle of an upset. It was going to be an uphill climb, but there were two keys that I had for the 49ers to pull off this massive upset. Kyle Shanahan has to get creative with this play calling, notably in the run game, and two, find a way to shut down the running backs of the Seahawks so you could force Sam Darnold's hand. Well, Kyle Shanahan did neither of that, and this game ended up being worse than I imagined. And not only did it end up being worse than I imagined from 2 weeks ago when they had that winner take all game and right down here in the Bay Area. Well, it was a disaster class from start to finish. Like where do you even want to start? Where do you even want to start from this game? Like this complete beatdown that the 49ers suffered. Like, I get it. They were like severely beaten up. And yeah, you can make an argument that, you should be happy. You should be proud. You shouldn't feel like You should feel like on a neutral playing field on, that they got their ass whooped. But, it doesn't, I don't know. Let's just, like, where do you want to start? Like, where do you even want to start from this disaster piece from my 49ers? The improved special teams, allowing Rashid Shaheed to burst out for a 95-yard kickoff return touchdown at the start of the game. Kyle Shanahan not dialing up a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1, not trusting his quarterback to go inside that very tough Seahawks defensive line. Like, you don't trust him to use his body to go inside the interior. Even like, yeah. But then he went on to call a more creative play with Kyle Juszczyk on 4th and 1. And when that didn't work, Juszczyk decided to, cuck out to McCaffrey and whatever that fucking play was. And then Kyle Shanahan had the balls to get mad at both Kyle Juszczyk and McCaffrey for botching that play. Why? And then you want me to start with Jake Tungus fumbling a big catch on their second drive to the Seahawks defense? Or do you want me to start with Marquez Single committing pass interference on Rashid Shaheed before Jackson Smith-Njigba burned Darrell Luter for a touchdown? Which, by the way, was preceded by Darrell Luter Jr. replacing Renardo Green because of Kyle Shanahan's bitch ass benching Green for allowing Cooper Kupp loose on a 2nd and 20, which was caused by a holding penalty on a first down, turned second down. Yeah, that happened. Or do you want me to start with the fact that Kenneth Walker III dog walked their asses for 3 touchdowns, the hat trick, pal? Even when his partner in crime, Zach Charbonnet, got hurt late in the second quarter, which, by the way, in that same play that Zach Charbonnet got hurt, Jordan Elliott was called for defensive hold, and that drive continued, and that led to one of Charbonnet's touchdowns to end the first half. Yep. Or do you want me to start with the offensive line getting repeatedly run over by the Seahawks' tough defensive line to the point they allowed Brock Purdy to run all over the place all game, run away for his life, and then eventually get sacked on a desperation 4th down on their opening second half drive. And then in the 4th quarter, strip sack fumbled on another 4th down in the 4th quarter, which led to another Kenneth Walker III touchdown to really embarrass the 49ers. Yeah. Or do you want me to start with 3rd string tight end Luke Farrell selling out to cause an interception, which made the score even bigger prior to that final touchdown. That was minutes later, by the way, but you get the idea. Like, you get the idea of where I'm going with this. Like, I'm not exactly mad per se, or like angry, although part of me does feel fuming, to be honest with you. But aside from Brock Purdy, who played his ass off in this game, like, sure, he made a couple of mistakes in this one that I really like back, but what exactly is there to talk about from this 41-6 ass whooping from their perspective? Every time I talk about these 49ers games, I always like to look at it from both teams' perspectives. But when you look at the 49ers in this game and how they went out and their season ended, this was embarrassing. Like, this was embarrassing. Now, again, I will give props to how Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they made it this far with pretty much with a retooled team. They've released many of their aging guys with bad contracts from previous playoff runs. And even though they lost key guys like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and George Kittle, And don't forget the rookie Michael Williams. But the people that they did have left over, they didn't show up to play at all in this game. Like, where was everybody? And I get it. Seattle is a better team than us. But at the same time, this whole team, whatever's left of it still could have shown up to play. Like, it still could have shown up to play on a Saturday night in Lumen Field. And once again, like 2 weeks ago, Kyle Shanahan played like a scared little victim. He was playing victim all game, bitching out the referees, John Hussey and his referee crew. He was playing the scared little victim that wasn't having his way, wasn't having his pacifier because he thought ref ball was against him when no, in reality, he was getting out coached, he was being pussified, he was being cucked by Mike McDonald. Yes, it was not exactly a great game. No, not a great game at all. It was a terrible game for Kyle Shanahan as a coach on national Saturday night primetime television. So in essence, Brock Purdy single-handedly carried this team on his back on Saturday night, and to a degree, Christian McCaffrey was also playing his ass off, even though he couldn't generate a lot of the runs because of his shit offensive line, and he took a beating. He took an absolute beating out there again, and yeah, I'm not sure why Kyle kept on having him play despite having a stinger. I'm not even sure why the starters were even out there in the fourth quarter when the game was already like 41-6 until Kyle was like, you know what, fuck it. Since Seattle's putting their backups in first, yeah, I'll put in my backups then. No, you're down already. Like it was the fourth quarter before it got to the 40-point mark. Like, it was over. Kyle Shanahan should have started pulling his starters out and getting ready for Cancun. Like, when the fourth quarter started. That's how it should have been done. So, yes, they fought through the adversity. They fought through the injuries, but and I'm surprised they even got a playoff win over the Philadelphia Eagles last week. But they couldn't at least put up a fighting effort to, a clearly better team instead of going out super sad, super embarrassing, super pathetic. This is a sad way to go out for clearly beating up team. Yes, the injury, it's all caught up to them, but they fought in almost every single game up to this point. But this is just a sad way to go out for Kyle Shanahan's beaten up squad. So now looking at it from the Seahawks side of things, obviously their first game coming out the first round bye this is the rematch from 2 weeks ago, and they made an immediate impact, and they never looked back in their first home playoff game since 2020, and the first one with fans since I think almost a decade ago when they faced the Detroit Lions in the wild card game. So yeah, this is a big game for them, and man, it was a really big one. I don't really have much notes for them because they thoroughly dominated in their division rival. Shaheed was a big time machine in the kicking game with a big touchdown return to start things off. The defense hounded all over Purdy and the offense, forcing I think it was like 4 or 5 turnovers. They sacked Purdy twice, and they were they bullied the 49ers offensive line all night, and rightfully so, because our offensive line sucked. And yeah, they were chasing him around, and they never let his run or passing game going, so giving him all the more work to do. And yeah, they capped off Purdy's night with a sack fumble, and then they recovered it. So yeah, that front seven is making a big case for the best defense remaining in these playoffs. Meanwhile, when you look at the offense for the Seahawks, the big storyline for them was Sam Darnold. Not because of performance wise during that time, But he was a pre-game concern going in with a oblique injury, the abdomen injury. He played okay, although every time he threw, he was clear he was still dealing with that injury. But he really didn't need to do all that much in this game because, well, his defense was whooping the 49ers offense's ass. And Kenneth Walker III, he was having a great night on the ground. So Sam Darnold didn't really need to do all that much offensively because his running back was doing well, gashing the 49ers run defense for the 3-touchdown hat trick. But when he did have to throw, he made a couple of big game throws to Cooper Kupp. Jackson Smith-Njigba did have a quiet night, though, but he made his only touchdown connection from Darnold to himself in what ended up being a big-time blowout. But at some point, though, the competition is going to get stiffer for Darnold in the offense, and Darnold will need to do more, because in the last month, the offense has been up and down for this team, especially with Darnold. So in this next NFC Championship game for the Seahawks, Darnold is going to have to do something more at some point when he faces a better and healthier team that isn't the Niners in either the LA Rams or the Chicago Bears next week when they host either one of those teams. So overall, when it comes to my last thoughts on this game, I mean, for the 49ers, again, I commend Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch for keeping this beaten up team on their feet, and making it to this point. I just can't commend how the HOW, how Kyle prepared this team and how he coached this team to this kind of loss against a better team. I get it. They were on a short week. They're so beaten up. They had to fly out east from Philadelphia on early Monday morning. They slept in. They didn't get. They did only like one or two full practices on a Wednesday and a Thursday, and in those practices, they were showing like what the Seahawks players and their fans were saying about them after the Week 18 loss. And then they responded with this. They responded with this, and this kind of loss in the playoffs, but like with an even worse loss in this way. Wow, like I'm not even like, again, I'm not even like mad or like angry in the slightest. Because, as the game went on, I'm just like disappointed, just disappointed, and just how pathetic with how the team was playing in spite of what they had left. I would have thought that, for as has, even with the scoreboard from 2 weeks ago, 13-3, even with how things went there, the team was still kind of putting up a fight somewhat in that game for that winner-take-all game. But here, there's just absolutely nothing. There's just absolutely nothing. And it was just a very disappointing way to go out in this way for the 49ers. So, yeah. Like, remember the smashings? Remember the predictions I gave like 2-3 years ago for the 49ers 2021 22 playoff run with the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Rams. Remember I predicted first that the 49ers are going to get smashed by the Cowboys, and that didn't happen. We're not going to get smashed by the Packers, and that didn't happen. We're going to get smashed by the Rams, and while they lost that game, that smashing didn't happen. Well, they got their overdue smashing 3 years later, but it was much worse than I imagined. Wow. How the tide has changed, and how it has eventually come. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Seahawks, they're coming off the first round bye. Like I said, they thoroughly showed why they're primed for an attempt to win their first Super Bowl since 2013. And I hate to say it's a real possibility to happen on their division rivals' home turf. which is going to make it all the more embarrassing for the 49ers and their fan base, especially given, the way that the Seahawks thoroughly dominated the 49ers in this one on the backs of their defense and a great night from Kenneth Walker III. So, going into this NFC Championship game, it's going to be a very tough out for either the Rams or the Bears going into this one. So, yeah. Best of luck to either one of those teams facing the Seahawks because they're going to need it. So, yeah, as one book continues to go for the Seahawks, the book closes for the 2025 San Francisco 49ers. And as we look ahead early for my 49ers offseason, and I'll expand on this more when I do my full 2025 season recap for them. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it, but be on the lookout for that in a future podcast episode. But giving my early thoughts on what's to come for their offseason. Now, it would have been nice. It would have been nice for them to have this Cinderella story that honestly could have and should have been finished at home with the Super Bowl win in front of all their fans. That would have been very nice. I would have loved it so much, but perhaps not doing that is honestly, the more I think about it, like, even though at the time of this recording it's just like literally like just a few hours removed from the game, perhaps maybe however you look at it, it may be a blessing in disguise, may or not be a blessing in disguise. Either way, there are a lot of important decisions throughout the next 5 months that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch need to make. Just like last year when they had to offload the likes of Deebo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga. Two of the three players I just mentioned are doing very good on their new teams. Greenlaw and Hufanga in the NFC Championship game next week with Denver. But unfortunately, their quarterback not going to be there, which is unfortunate. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. For the 49ers, they have a lot of important decisions to make this coming offseason again, because when you look at this roster, it's still old. It's still injury prone. Nick Bosa is going to be 29. He is 29, and he's coming off another torn ACL. Fred Warner is 30 years old, but given that he's recovered much faster from the broken ankle that he suffered in Tampa Bay in Week 6, and he attempted a comeback during this playoff run. He wanted to play in Seattle, and had the 49ers gone on to the NFC Championship game, he would have played there. So he actually tried to come. He actually tried to come back for this one, but the Niners just couldn't do their job, and didn't have enough power to make a further playoff run. But Warner's still getting a year older. George Kittle's 33. He's also getting older, getting more beat up, and he's unlikely to play next season with a torn Achilles for as much as he's my tight end one. And Chris McCaffrey, 30 years old, but he's taken a major toll this season, and of course his own injury history prior to that. So when you look at this Niners roster, they need to inject this group with a lot of youth and reliable youth that has proven that it could stay healthy. Like, you got to look at this team going forward. Like, sure, you do need vets on this team, but at the same time, you need a lot of youth. This team is not, still has imbalance of old people and a couple of bad contracts. So yeah, there's still a lot of things to work out with this team that hopes to compete with the LA Rams, and especially now the Seattle Seahawks that are on the up and up. So for the 49ers, this coming offseason, the major positions that they really have to invest in, my top two are the offensive line and the receiver room. But the offensive line it really has to be a major focus for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Like, if the people watching what was on display on national television in 2 of the last 3 weeks, if that wasn't enough for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to see that they have to make investments to the offensive line, and if I don't know, if that's not enough, then Jed York needs to fire them both next season. Like, if they don't get that, if they don't invest in that offensive line, if they don't blow it up because Jake Brendel can't block in the middle, Colt McKivitz can't block Brock Purdy's right side, because they both suck in any kind of blocking, whether it's run or pass, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch need to be fired. And we don't know what's next for Trent Williams. We don't know. He can retire at any moment this offseason. And left tackle becomes a major need. So if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch don't blow up this offensive line, and if Trent Williams decides to go for another year, and maybe draft a left tackle so Trent can mentor them. But if Trent decides to go, then left tackle becomes a major need, and then you have to blow up the whole offensive line up. But if the offensive line continues to be neglected, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch need to go. They need to be fired next season. And I keep saying that over and over again, and it never happens. The receiver room. This receiver room was already a major issue with the release of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, not being gone all season with the ACL recovery and some reported tension inside the 49ers and outside of it. It's clear that a split is happening. So releasing Brandon Ayuk apparently is going to give the team $20 million because they voided some of his bonuses from what I heard back in November. So apparently they're going to release him. That's going to give the team an extra $20 million more to spend from their 40 to 50 million. So that's going to give them some more money to go and spend on a coveted free agent like an Alec Pierce or George Pickens. And maybe they could always get some cheap vertical deep threats while also drafting some in the later rounds of the draft. And then they surely need some help in the secondary. I did like Upton Stout and Marcus Single. They have shown some promise as rookies, but obviously they can't do it alone. In the secondary, they still need some help alongside Diamador Lenore. But I just don't like how he's developed an ego this season. So, for as much as he is as a captain, you got to tone down the ego. Renardo Green, he's still up and down, and Malik Mustafa, sure, he's a hard hitter, but he's bad in deep coverage. So you got to add some more depth in the secondary. Linebacker and edge depth. They really need this after the shit that went down with Boza, Warner, and Michael all getting hurt. But that should not be the first round pick in this draft for John Lynch. You got to save that for an offensive lineman. And then last but not least, in terms of personnel needs, they have to re-sign Eddie Pinheiro and Thomas Morstead. Pinheiro was after they released Jake Moody, Pinheiro was great. He was a really great kicker after they released Robbie Gould, and they lost Robbie Gould to retirement. So getting him was a really I guess you could say one of the season-saving things for the 49ers. So really nice. I really think they should reward Eddie Pinheiro by re-signing him. And yeah, they got to do all they can to keep him around. And then, looking at some of the other the coaching stuff, Kyle and John, they might have to look for another defensive coordinator in case Robert Saleh looks for another head coaching job, whatever he has open. But given how he coached up his defense in the divisional playoff game and that embarrassment, maybe Saleh stays for another year or two to try and run it back, try to improve up his resume after that embarrassment in Seattle. And then, yeah, you look at that strength and conditioning staff. They got to go. they gotta be fired. And I know there's this conspiracy theory about the electrical substation next to the 49ers training facility, next to Great America, and next to the stadium. I don't know how much of that is really of a factor because, I'm not into those conspiracy theories in general, but either way, fire the strength and conditioning staff, and if that electrical substation conspiracy theory ends up being true, then tear it down, tear that shit down. Ask the Santa Clara County to tear that shit down, or move the training facility to somewhere else. And then once you do, bring in more qualified individuals. Steal some qualified individuals from other teams, and perhaps bring in an offensive assistant to help out Kyle Shanahan because, he once again is overdoing things to himself when it comes to play calling duties. So overall, I'll end it on this. This was, I'll say, the Niners overachieved expectations in a season where I thought it was going to be one of those down seasons where they clearly retooled in the offseason, let some of the older guys go, and it was going to be a down year. And then injury mania struck again with Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, and Fred Warner, especially Fred Warner. He went down, and I thought by that point the season was going to go down the drain, but it didn't. It didn't go down the drain. And then don't forget that Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall missed more than multiple games throughout this point of the year, throughout the point in the season, and yet they managed to win 12 games. They were within striking distance within the NFC West and the NFC's top seed. They didn't get either of them. They won a playoff game, but then they went out in sad fashion. For as well as they did this year, for as much as they overachieved this year, that's not gonna leave a good taste in my mouth because of how sad they went out. And that just disappoints me. And now we have to look ahead towards what's to come next in the offseason. Like, there's a lot of looming decisions that Kyle and John have to make. And they refuse to invest and commit to at least the first two needs that I mentioned, which are the offensive line and receiver, like rebuilding those two things, then Judd York has to step in, get off his ass, stop looking at the Super Bowl, the World Cup. Well, go and then maybe, briefly talk to Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel about a WrestleMania or SummerSlam for a bit, but then focus first on Kyle and John, and force their hand in investing in the offensive line and getting some help for your franchise quarterback that you just gave a shit ton of money to. So for this 49ers team, very disappointing way, an embarrassing way to end a surprisingly overachieving season. I mean, yeah, I'm surprised that they won 12 games. They overly exceeded expectations this year, but I just can't get rid of the way that this season ended. They got smashed. They got their asses completely embarrassed on national television, even with the team that was trotting out there. It wasn't great. So let's just hope that Kyle and John see this national primetime embarrassment and it forces their hands to finally see that they need to commit to, especially the offensive line. They got to help out their quarterback. They got to help out their defense. They have to finally put some balance back into the force in order to compete with the Rams, to compete with the Seahawks, to compete with the entirety of the up-and-comers in the NFC West. Otherwise, their window in this competitive NFL is going to close. It's going to close. And maybe their window in the organization, it can close too. So, yeah, it's going to be another important offseason for the 49ers. And, yeah, we'll leave it at that. So let me know your thoughts on the 49ers' disappointing loss to the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Divisional Playoffs. And yeah, that's pretty much a wrap on their 2025 season. So let me know your thoughts on this game. And I use that in air quotes in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you happen to listen to this on whatever podcast network you're on, sound off on a DM. Send that to me on my socials on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna, and we can have a conversation about it. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I am your host, Dylan Lasagna, once again bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And yeah, keep that lasagna in the fridge with those cold takes. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this season for my San Francisco 49ers. Once again, coming up well short within the title number 6, not finishing the story, and another offseason of thinking for them. But yeah, we'll just have to wait for September again for more 49ers football. That, we'll just have to play another waiting game for them. But yeah, we'll do a season recap for them. I'm not sure when we'll do that, but I'll get that together at some point. But until that time comes, and until we recap the full divisional playoff weekend slate, until that time comes, until the next episode, peace out.